And we are live. Hello, my name is Jason Ellinger. Welcome to the masterclass on how to build a multi-million-dollar family business. If the surroundings, or if you've watched the previous two videos in this series, you're used to a different background, and that's because right now I'm in Antalya, not in Antalya, Turkey, but commute. It's about 40 minutes from Antalya, Turkey, and I'm vacationing with my family. But we wanted to host a masterclass anyways, just to kind of give you um, a little bit more depth in the content that we're producing. So if the camera, maybe the quality is a little bit lower, if the lighting is a little bit off, we're not in our normal studio today, so we're just doing the best we can with what we got. And when you're building a multi-million-dollar family business like we have over the years, that's part of the process, just doing the best you can with what you've got sometimes, and that's enough. So, as we get into this series today, I'm going to go through some really interesting questions. We've got a bunch of questions for you that were assembled in this series because as we go through the series, there's so many different things that we're going to address that we're going to go through together that we're going to kind of divulge the information of or open up and kind of open up the underwear drawer and look inside to be able to actually see, okay, what happens and how does this actually work? And there's inevitably a lot of questions. And so what we've done is assembled some of those questions for you in this masterclass so that we can answer those on this kind of a format. So the most possible people can benefit from the questions that have been asked around the subject of building family business. Some of these are actually kind of personal to my specific family business that I built and that I've launched for our family, and some of these are a little bit more broad and for the facts kind of like a how to or how do I do this type of thing. So I'm going to go through as many as I can in this session today, and I hope that it's very helpful to you because likely you have either found yourself asking some kind of question, or maybe a piece of the answer to that question will help you answer one of the questions that you're contemplating as you're dealing with and thinking through all the different questions about owning and operating and running and scaling to a multi-million-dollar family business. And that's what this masterclass is about. I have built a multi-million-dollar family business. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not jumping the gun here. Yeah, okay, I did kind of jump the gun a little bit. Boop, 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 back up, back up. Okay, here we go. Um, Again, my name is Jason Ellinger, and if you want to find a little bit more about the company that I currently own and operate, it's Taika Translations. You can go to taikatranslations.com. This has been my wife and mine, um, our whole, since we got married 16 years ago, since we actually started our family. She started out doing freelance work in this industry, and little by little by little we grew until we got to a point where we had to say, okay, we're going to part ways, and we're going to part ways from any other sources of income and actually delve into only doing this thing for our family's sustenance. And if you're new to this series, my name is Jason Ellinger, and I have 8 children. My wife and I have been married for 16 years. Um, we homeschool our children, and we deeply value the family business, and God. And all of those things are connected for us in one big, beautiful thing we call life, and doing life with vision and impact. And so this is all a part of this series as we kind of grow and build and kind of answer these questions and really open up what it means to build and operate a multi-million-dollar family business and how actually to do that. And I really hope as we go through this, that you're going to get some really key answers that you can take home and maybe put to work in your life. Because if there's one thing that's true about me as a person, I like to go from theory to activity very, very quickly. It's kind of, if you've ever read the book Working Geniuses by Patrick Lencioni, I'm a W and a T. So it means I'm a wonder, like big picture kind of. I really, give me the big idea. And then, okay, I love that idea. Let's move it into action immediately and start making progress, because a big idea without any activity is just a dream. And you look on those people who have those big ideas with disdain, you're like, oh my gosh, that's just a dreamer. He just wants to do something, or blowing off steam, not actually getting anything done. And I just those types of uh, I don't do well in those types of companies because I'm in environments, not companies, but in those types of environments because I just I can't stand the lack of productivity, the lack of actually doing something meaningful that's going to turn into something beautiful for the family, for the people, for the team, for whatever it is, the entity that's driving for progress in that area. So, anyways, that's me. And yeah, so I own and operate this. This is not just theory. This is not just some professor that sat in the back of a classroom and never actually had to make payroll. I mean, we make payroll every 2 weeks in our company. We deal with vendors, contractors, big contracts, small contracts, big problems, small problems, and we're working in this work each and every day. So this isn't just somebody who did something one time at some period of their life and now they're sharing it all with you. No, I literally do this every single day. Well, not today because I'm on vacation in Turkey, except for this master series. I decided that I wanted to do this piece and just kind of can keep the momentum going for everyone who's watching and participating because it's such an important and I think very special part of the work that we're doing. And so um, anyways, that's what the series is. That's who I am. That's who my family is. And let's get started. Okay, we're going to jump right into the questions. By the way, like and subscribe to the videos, please. Drop a comment below. And while we're going through this, please feel free to ask me a question. If you have a question about how to build a family business or what to do in a family business or whatever it is that you're facing in a family business, it's likely that I have faced that issue at some time in our past and or I might be facing working on that right now and dealing with that because obviously we're in current operations in our space. And if you have a question, please drop it in the chat because I will take a break. I will stop and answer that question for you, so that we can make sure that whoever is actually participating in this moment gets their question answered. And if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to drop a question in anyways because our team will grab that question and make sure that I see it and we'll get you an answer on that subject. So again, not theory. We actually do this. This is real. We work on real problems each and every day and work on growing and scaling our family business. And so I hopefully hope this is a blessing and a help to you as you do that, or if you have a desire to do that, so that we can help facilitate your ability to do that. Okay, so what inspired your family to start the business? This is kind of one of the more personal questions that I mentioned as we started talking as I intro the video. And when I looked back on what actually inspired our family business, I reminded of the story. I believe it was Netflix and Blockbuster. And what do they have in common? I think the owner of Netflix was really upset about the ridiculous fees the late fees that Blockbuster was charging, and then they came up with a way to stream videos and rent those to people, and they just completely eliminated the entire Blockbuster chain because Blockbuster refused to change. They were like, "Well, we make more money on all of our late fees than we do on all the rentals, so we definitely don't want to change our model. Otherwise, we are going to we're going to go bankrupt because we make so much money on our late fees. Why would we eliminate that section of our industry or of our work?" In fact, they weren't serving the client well. Technology had changed. One of their clients had a really, really bad experience. And they're like, okay, this is going to change and I'm going to be the change maker. And so that kind of takes me back to my own story for when I started our family business because um, when I saw an injustice. I had been in a family business that was incredibly tough. There was a lot of infighting. There was a lot of disrespect between the family members, and it was tearing the business apart from the inside out. And I was just like, man, this is not the way it should be. I really don't believe that this is the way a family business should operate. And because of that, it really inspired my wife and I, because my wife was helping me at the time while running the freelance work that we were doing in the translation industry. She was doing that, and she was helping me with some of the work that we were doing. I was the CFO, and I was dealing with the biggest sales for the company that I was working at the time. Um, and so we were working together in that, and she was just like, "Man, Jason, no, like this is really bad. We can't like this is unhealthy. Family business is great, but not like that." And so we sat down one day after I actually got fired from my position because of not because I had done anything wrong, but because the infighting and the disrespect between the team members, and I simply wouldn't, I wouldn't stand for it. I said, no, I'm not gonna, no, I won't accept that type of disrespect towards me or towards anybody else. And so no, no. And so for that, I was fired, which is fine. Um, and my wife and I, after that moment, we had an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, what the heck do we want to do next? Because we really believed in the vision and mission of the family business. We thought there was something intrinsically valuable about it, that it was very, very important, and that if it could work, that it would be one of the most beautiful and most um, impactful endeavors of a family's lifetime. And we really sat down at that time and talked, and we were like, I mean, it was a very tough situation because obviously the hopes and dreams that we had planned on, I didn't ever plan to leave. I planned to prosper and grow along with the company, but that just wasn't in the cards for us. And at that time, we said, okay, well, we've got this kind of little bitty thing over here on the side that might kind of do something if we invest everything that we possibly have in it. I was very strong in finance. My wife is very strong in project management and administration and client services, and so and I was big on problem solving. And so we said, okay, well, let's give it everything we've got and let's see if we can make this work and actually build the family business that we envision to be right, that we envision to be beautiful, that we envision to be very impactful. And so that drove us to say, okay, let's get this thing started and launch something that can be impactful and help other people. And so that's really what inspired our family, me and my wife, to start our family business. And so if that helps somebody out there, if that was your question, there's the answer. And I hope that's a blessing to you in some way. Many times a business that was started came from a disgruntled customer, a unhappy with the service, or it just shouldn't be so type of situation, and all of a sudden a new business opportunity is born, and you can jump into a market and scale something and actually have an incredible and meaningful business. Let's move to the next question. Okay, how did the first few years look like for your family business? Okay, so if you're, I'm guessing, somebody's out there and they're just like, okay, if when you're starting your business, how's the first few years actually going to look for me? They're gonna, just straight up, they're kind of gonna suck because there'll be some of the most exciting moments in your business history and in the journey that you're going to go on as a business owner. Um, I know some people who are just perpetual startup people, and they just love the energy and the risk and the initiating years of a business, and then they just go off and sell it after 2 years. That is not me in any way, shape, or form. I am a legacy minded person. I'm a vision minded person. We're going somewhere. We're going to hit that, and we're going to carry forwards until we get there. And whatever we're going to face, we're going to go through that until we overcome. That's the kind of person I am. I'm not like, oh, give me the 2 years of craziness, and then I'll just sell it right when I get it up and profitable, and then go on and do this again. It's like I can't stand that because there was so much sacrifice, so many sleepless nights, so many painful experiences, like failures and production failures and vendor failures and contracts not working out the way they should, and just lessons and lessons and lessons, just like hair on fire lessons for the first couple of years, especially how we started, because I was without a job, remember, at that time, and then I went right into building this company. As thank God, my wife and I had been working through and operating it step by step for the 5 years prior to that. But um, the first few years are tough. They're really, really tough if you're going to be in business. Like, we worked sometimes 20 hours a day for a month because that's what we had to do. Because this reminds me of a very important principle. What is required is often vastly more than you realize, than what you understand. But once you become aware of what is required to scale, you have to answer the question, are you going to say yes to what is required? Because if you start something and then you hit this wall and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I have to break through that concrete reinforced steel wall. This is terrible. Well, that's what it's going to be about. Like, you're going to hit those walls. You're going to have to slam through them, or you're going to have to turn back. The problem is, if you want to go do another business, you're going to hit another brick wall. And if you just get in the habit of backing off and going to another easier business to do, and then hitting at that brick wall and continuing to back out and go to the easier, you're always going to hit the brick wall, and you're never going to learn the skills required to move through that. And by the way, the biggest and most exponential growth for your business is on the other side of it. So first few years are tough in the family business. You're going to work a ton, and if you don't work a ton, your business probably won't make it. And so it looks like in the family business, it looks like meeting sometimes daily, talking about the vision, sometimes meeting daily to talk about client issues or production issues that you're facing, meeting uh, getting up at 3 a.m. to deal with a production delivery. I mean, it can be really tough. And so I don't want to the glasses for anyone as you go into that, just thinking, well, the first couple of years, they're going to be a little hard. And then, no, it's going to be so tough that you're going to want to give up multiple times in a given month. And if you're there, you're probably in the right spot. You're like, what? Yes, literally, that's how it feels first couple of years, many, many times. You get used to that, you grow thicker skin, and then over time, you work through those problems and overcome them. But a lot of times during the first 2 years, that's how it feels. So that's how it looked. I hope that helps somebody. And if you're in the situation where you're going through those first years, hang in there. It's tough. You're going to make it. Just keep your head down, keep doing the next right thing, and you'll overcome that next obstacle. All right, next question. How did you decide on roles within the family when starting out? For me, it was just kind of obvious. Um, my wife was better at managing the project flow, and I was better at dealing with the finances and dealing with all of the problems and dealing with all of the quality control. Like that was how we separated. She was like, okay, I will deal with all of the clients and and I did the marketing also, and I will deal with all the clients requests and all of the projects, and you just take care of everything else. And that was it, because there was only two of us at that time. And if I didn't do that and she didn't do that, well, we wouldn't have a company. So we decided very quickly, based on our talents and skills and the abilities that each of us had, the strengths that each of us had, that we would segment ourselves into those roles, and then we would grow our company that way. And so eventually we brought other people to help us to shore up all of our work inside of those roles. But that's how, when we started our family company, that's how we separated the roles out. Whatever your strengths and talents and skills are, whatever you're most inclined to, that's probably going to be where you best fit in or the organization. Are you a client services person? Are you a finance person? Are you a details person? Are you a production type person? Do you enjoy moving things through the process? Or maybe not even do you enjoy it, but are you very highly capable of doing that? Do you enjoy logical, systematic work? I mean, all of those types of things you need to know about yourself so that you can actually understand what role you should best play for the business to be able to succeed. Because if you don't know that about yourself, you're not, and you start working in areas that you really are bad at, that's probably going to be one of the biggest things that you guys are going to fight about in the family business. Is going to cause a lot of tension and disruption in the entire organization. And that will kill your family business right from the start. So be very, very careful when you're assigning those roles, that you actually take those moments and think about, and have deep conversations about, okay, who does what, and what am I best at, and what not, not what am I willing to do, because you pretty much need to do willing to do basically anything to get the thing working. What am I willing what talents do I have, what can I possibly do to benefit the organization the most, and put all your intensity in that. And then over the years, you'll be able to disperse some of those responsibilities to other people as you grow the organization. Okay, so next question is, how do you keep family and business roles separate, or do you? um, I think, in general, in this question, I heard Dave Ramsey one time. He was talking to a finance chief financial officer and a CEO. Chief financial officer was the wife, CEO was the husband. And she was like, "Man, we have so many arguments in our company, and my husband, you can just so ugly to me all the time." And Dave Ramsey is like, he looks at him, he's like, "Well, would you talk to the CFO in another company like you talk to your wife when she's doing the CFO roles in your company?" It's like, "Well, no." It's like, "Well, why do you talk to your wife like that when when she's doing the same role in your company? You just need to talk to her like you would talk to any other team member in your organization about the issues that you're facing." And um, I think that's a kind of a very important reminder because I, for me and my wife, I want to be just as genuine at home and in our family environment as I want to be in my work environment, because your genuineness is one of the things that makes all of the things that you're doing actually meaningful. That makes the relationships at home full and powerful and impactful, and create the vision that you want, create the legacy that you want to see in the future. If you're this way at work and you're this way at home, well, you look like you're a two-faced, because you're a two-face. You're not the same person. You be the same person at work as you are at home. Now, there are other romantic aspects, and there are all the family aspects at home. But you don't just become a completely different person in your family business. You deal with the stuff in the business, but it doesn't mean you don't have to be a like you just have to take off your family member role anymore. In fact, I find a lot of continuity in between the driving to facts and details in business, and driving to the root of the problem when we're dealing with a family issue. And so I think there's a lot of overlap in these things, and I don't think that it's healthy to be two different people when you're in or out of your company. I mean, you're the same person, and you still be logical. You still work on getting to the bottom of the matter with kindness. In our company, the guiding rule for all of our conversations is that we do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And so, I mean, we also have another one, a core value that says to be unclear is to be unkind. So we are clear, which means sometimes it sounds a little rough, raw, but we understand because we clearly communicate to each other that when we are raw with the information, we are being as kind as we possibly can, because we have to drive to the best decision that will ultimately benefit everybody in the organization. And sometimes that sounds a little bit raw, but it's definitely for the benefit of everyone. And we have to remind each other of that. That's why you actually have core values for the organization, so that when you have issues within things like keeping business roles separate in your family, or dealing with deep issues that you're discussing, that you don't get tripped up by the fact that, oh, how do I behave? Oh, yeah, this is how I behave in this situation, because we do unto others that we would have them do unto us. And we also are clear and very kind, but driving to clarity consistently. So that's how I would say you keep your family roles separate in your business, or you don't, rather, because I think continuity of who you are as a person is absolutely vital for people in families, and in operating their family and leading their families, as well as leading their companies. All right, next question. How do you handle disagreements with family members in the business? Well, we kind of talked about this a little bit in this last question that I just answered. To be unclear is to be unkind. So, I, that question is kind of um, um, it's not that I don't like that question. It's just the question to me tells me that the person who's asking it thinks that that it's okay to allow the reality of two close, like a husband and a wife, to be at complete disagreement about an issue. And while we have our differences, we have our different. Had a argument with my wife today about a thing that we both care about, and we drove to the clarity at the end and had a loving conclusion to that. Everything was, we got to the root of the issue and we dealt with it. But um, if you are allowing a disagreement to be a reality in the relationship, you're doing something wrong. Hope I didn't step on any toes by that. Actually, I don't care if I stepped on your toes because I really think that's true. In your family, the husband and wife relationship, especially, if there is a thing that you vastly disagree about and you just have polar opposites, like you disagree completely. Okay, I'm not talking about she likes chocolate, you like peanut butter. I'm not talking about I like Coca-Cola and she likes Pepsi. I'm not talking about that kind of just vain stuff. But I'm talking about I think we should do this with our finances as a strategy for our family and our company. And he says, I think we should do this with our finances for the strategy for our family and our company. That is not okay. You don't that will drive the family apart, and you will destroy the family and the business with that type of mentality. And so that's why this question kind of rubs me the wrong way, because it gives the idea that it's possible for a family to continue on perpetually and have vastly different strategic issues that they disagree on. And it's just not the case. In a company, early and often, you will have arguments about what the next right best step is. In a family, early and often, you will have not arguments, but you will definitely have charged conversations about what the next step about what the right next step is. And if you don't, you're probably operating on a very superficial level, and there's some stuff underneath that needs to be dealt with. And if you don't deal with that, it will tear your family apart over time. And so that's why when I see how do you handle disagreements within the family members, I really wish I knew a little bit more about who was asking this question and why. Because no great family leader can allow his family or her family to have vast disagreements in the internal operations of the family and just kind of exist, because that's going to cause breakdown over time. That's the famous Abraham Lincoln quote: "A house divided against itself will not stand." So really, that's absolutely true. A house divided against itself will not stand. So handling family agreements, issues when we get into them, we drive to clarity, and then we meet each other there, and then we decide what the future would look like together. We both get a vote, and then we go step forward into that. And I guess a case in point might be helpful in this situation. My wife sacrificed for years, not going on like where we are right now, literally in this moment. This is so applicable because right now I'm at this resort in Antalya, Turkey. My wife wanted to travel there for years, for the many years as when we were first married, and we never went, never. Um, Circumstances in our life didn't allow for it. Sometimes we didn't have enough money to do that. Sometimes we just had, we have 8 children, so we had too many small children at that moment to be able to travel anywhere. It was just, different things. But there was a point when I started to hear like my wife, and as a okay, sometimes slightly deaf man, selective hearing. Right? No, I try not to be selective here with my hearing, but um, I started to realize my wife really wanted to go and wanted it as a part of our family routine to be able to take our family out to go to a resort and to spend time together. And I didn't realize how important that was until a few like 10 years into our marriage. And so she got the message across finally to the male side of my brain, and said like, okay, listen, I really want to go do this kind of stuff. And I was kind of a disagreement with that because I didn't think it was as important because I was like, well, we do really cool stuff with our family each and every day, and we go places and we and all this stuff, and we don't have to travel super far to do that, and everything's fine. It's like, no, I really think this is something special. And so at that time I had to take a step back and really take, put myself in her shoes and say, okay, what is this, why is this so important to you, and do I fully agree, and do I fully understand everything about the dynamics of what you're trying to tell me? Not really, but it's super important to you, and you've been saying this for a while, so I need to pay attention. Okay, what is it that we think we need to add to our life? Okay, this, we need to go with our family on a big, trip once a year to do this kind of cool thing somewhere, and in a beautiful place that's kind of far away. And why do we need to do that? To create these beautiful memories. That doesn't really compute to me because I'm a super logical person in that way, but I'm like, okay, I love you, and that's something that you love. And even though I don't fully understand how that works out in reality, like how beneficial that is for us, we're gonna go do that. And so I'm just gonna make it happen because I love you, and we got to figure this out because that's something you want to do and you think that it's important. So I started to make it happen, and now we've been doing this for over 5 years now, because that's important to my wife. So it was kind of something that we were a little bit disagreeing about, just, and I didn't in a kind of disagreement about, and I kind of didn't hear what she was saying until I finally got it, and then I also learned along the way that there are many, many, many valuable and very wonderful conversations and time spent with our children that they won't always be together with us, that we can spend with them now as we do this family business and grow, and so uh, that was kind of a disagreement, and I think that maybe that can kind of help you to understand that when we have those disagreements, we get the message across to our spouse lovingly, as and as long as it takes, we just keep at it and keep trying to be loving with those responses until we they get it, and then we connect and we go, we unite around that vision for what we want to do, and we go make that a part of our lives. So I think that could be a really good case in point because there's a lot of the elements of how do you handle disagreements with your family members in business that are kind of woven into that. I didn't really disagree. I didn't really understand the benefit of that. She really thought it was something really important. There's a lot of finances tied up into that. I could have used those finances for something I thought was more valuable. And that type of different disagreement, we have to bring unity. We have to look at from the other person's shoes. If it's the love of our life and we're spending all of our life with that person, we better just, if she wants it, we might just go ahead and do it because we might learn something along the way about how beneficial it actually is for us as well. And so I've been blessed more than I've, more than the resources spent on that. I've received great blessings from these events with our family, and so that's kind of something. That's how we handled that disagreement in our family and our family business. All right, going on to question 6. What's one lesson you learned early about working with family? Well, working with family, one of the early lessons would be, um, you can't sugarcoat the bad stuff. You can't sugarcoat the bad stuff because if you start early sugarcoating the bad stuff and don't deal with it, that stuff that you sugarcoat consistently will ultimately destroy your ability to win. Because in order to win, you have to deal with the bad stuff, the bad data, the bad results, the failed attempts, the the failed projects, the non-paying clients. You have to deal with that stuff and not sugarcoating that so that you actually learn the hard lesson and never do it again. Never have to go down that road again. So that's one of the first lessons, because in your family you always kind of like, well, it's kind of okay. We're kind of work through that. We're going to deal with that. Blah 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 blah. Sometimes it's like, no, this freaking sucks. It's really really bad, and we can never let that happen again. So how do we never let that happen again? By doing this. Okay. Once we've got that, we're good. We can charge forwards. All right, next. How do you compete with larger companies as a family owned business? Well, larger companies have the luxury of maybe a lot more resources, maybe a lot more You've got the nice parking spot, you've got the nice corner office, you've got the nice whatever it is that the corporate office has. But I think that so many people don't hear, don't realize that in a larger company, one, you're always a single decision away from either completely not having a job or um, not being relevant anymore for the company, which is also not having a job. Okay, so either being moved off of their payroll, fired, gone, eliminated, and we've seen that happen recently with a lot of big corporations and even companies in my industry. And so as a small family business, I think one of the biggest ways that you can compete is that you can get incredible talent. Um, as your vision in your organization, you're able to impart that to others much more effectively. The people who come into your organization have a ridiculously high chance of being able to increase their income exponentially, as opposed to coming into a massive organization that's very calm, that everything is perfectly laid out and structured, and every single step that you're taking for the next rest of your 30-year career or whatever you're doing there is just lined out. And I think that because of those dynamics, com- you can get a lot better talent when working with a small family owned company, because you're going to get a lot, the opportunity is much higher. Of course, there's opportunity for there being a higher risk, but there's also the opportunity for you to be able to influence the decisions more. If you've hired yourself a great leader, which is how I look at anybody who comes to work at for any organization, you actually hire a leader to work with. And notice I didn't say work for, you work with. All of my team members work with me, not for me. Um, then you have a completely different spirit around how you operate and your impact that you're making. And I think that that is one of the biggest ways that we can compete with larger corporations, because you're no longer a number, you're actually a human that matters, that has a big influence over what you do. And there is an incredible opportunity for you to scale with the organization and grow your opportunity, influence, and impact with the company as you work there for more years and you are become part of the company's success over the long term. And so, um, I have team members that have been with our organization since the very beginning, and they've grown right alongside of it, and so have their salaries. They started at a little bitty, itty bitty salary, and now they've got a really big, great big one, because they've worked really hard over many years to help us to grow where we are today. And that's why I think a smaller family-owned businesses can attract a lot way cooler talent, uh, because of those those kind of intrinsic vision driven, uh, impact driven type of people that you're able to attract and then deploy within your organization. All right, next question. What does it feel like to run a family business knowing that everyone depends on you? What does it feel like? Moments of incredible exhilaration, excitement, and joy, followed by depths of despair and moments of shrill fear. 20 times a day. So that in that sense, it sounds horrible. What the heck? I would never want to be a family-owned family business. No, I'm kind of dramatizing that a little bit more than it is. But in family business, you do deal with the aspect of, you're like, oh my gosh, we're about to make this great deal. When that deal goes through, this could happen and this could happen, and we could hit that goal, and we could achieve that target, and we could hit our company sales goal for the year in this one deal, and then we could take all our entire team to Turkey, and we could have this really cool event, and everybody could really be excited about that, and we could see it, like all these things, like, oh, really super exciting. And then, that, oh gosh, that deal's not quite gonna work out. Ah, dang it. Like, it's 20% the size we thought it was instead of like 100%. And yeah, not quite. But anyways, it's profitable. we still get to handle it. So those types of emotions, they happen each and every day. And I think that it's very important to realize that they do happen, because if you go into a small family business, or growing a family business, um, I still think multi-million is very small. That's who we are, and so I still consider us in the small business category. But um, as you work get into the family-owned business, and you do need to know that that is a reality. If you're the one who's leading the organization, if you're the one who's going to be the one who's responsible for it all, the vision of the organization, and has stuff happening or not, if you don't realize that those feelings are reality, then that could crush you, because those exhilarating moments and those powerful, depressing, painful moments of betrayal. I've had key team members who promised that they just, with their whole hearts and minds, look straight into my eyes. They're like, "Yes, I'm going to do this and this and this thing for the organization, and I'm so excited about this and that." And then one thing changed in their life, and all of a sudden they disappear, and everything they said up to that point about what they were going to do is gone, like a vapor in the wind. Had team members that have worked for a really long time completely turn their ideology on life and faith and capitalism. One of my team members decided that he hated capitalism after working with our company for over 6 years, and I was like, "What?" I mean, America's kind of a capitalist nation. The capitalist thing is what keeps this company alive. I mean, you get paid by a capitalist. Like, what the heck, man? It's like, well, I have to quit because I just, I can't stand that ideology. And it was like, well, whatever. I have no idea how that happened, but anyways, okay. Just, and then a team member that you were relying on for many, many years, and thinking that you were going to build something great together with this team member. You invest in them, you spend time with you work really hard to mentor and counsel and grow them, and all of a sudden they just leave. And it's just and you feel like you just feel this, the wind has been taken out of your sails, and you've been crushed, and 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 makes you want to give up, but you don't, because the vision is greater, the legacy, the greater, the impact that you're creating is greater than that moment in your business, or that situation in your business. Each situation that happens in your organization is not the end all be all. It's a situation. You deal with the situation, take the right next steps, and you carry on. And so you have those great moments of exhilaration, and you have those great moments of great despair. And there's a and so for me, I'm my faith in God and my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ is what helps me work through that. So I know that wasn't the question. However, that those feelings, those vast different wavering differences can happen in a single day multiple times. And if you're not ready for that, it can be very, very detrimental to your mental health and to your perspective about what you're going to be able to do long term in the organization. So very, very, very good question. And I think that's something that I would just caution everyone to be very careful about as you build your family business, that everyone may depend on you, and there's going to be these vast differences between how you feel. And the good thing, important thing to remember, is that feelings lie. Now, they're very important. Emotions and feelings are very, very important. God gave them to us to live and experience in this life and to be a part of this life. And I'm very grateful for those things, but they do lie, and they often don't tell you the truth. And that's why when you're afraid or when you're scared, facts are your friends. And so that's a very important reminder. And I've had to very, very kind of go from the philosophy on that. Facts are your friends when you're scared. The actual tactical, okay, what are the facts? Because I'm a little scared right now. And so having to deal with those, and also making a core value, like we don't make decisions based on fear, because it's a terrible decision making tool. Making, unless you're standing in front of the car and you need to get out the dang way. Well, yeah, that's a great decision making tool. You don't want to get killed, so move. But aside from that, fear is not a good decision making tool. And so facts are your friends when you're afraid. And so that's one of the tools that you use to be able to work through those type of emotional sways. So great question. All right, nine. Question number nine. What's one thing you wish you'd done differently during a growth phase? I wish I would have hired sales people earlier. For many, many years, I kept that to myself and to our core team. And it was kind of like this idea that mainly we wanted to make sure that everybody was being as efficient as possible. So if you didn't have projects to work on, that you actually did marketing and sales work. And so that's really a lesson that I learned that I should have earlier on. I wish I would have hired a sales and marketing team faster earlier, and then been able to help our company scale faster that way. So that's one thing I wish I'd done differently. That's kind of very easy to answer that question right off the top of my head. I know the answer. So some of these questions I haven't been able to review before this class today. So that's why I'm mentioning that. All right. So what's a simple system or habit that made your operations smoother? Well, easy to answer that question too. Really easy. One of the best and most powerful implementations that I ever made was when I learned about doing the one-on-ones from Patrick Lencioni. And you can go back on YouTube and just search my name and look for one-on-ones. I've done some extensive training on YouTube about this specific thing. If you implement that into your family business, your small business, it will change your freaking world. Do one-on-one meetings every single week. Check out that training that I've made in another video on one-on-one meetings. If you have any, I don't care what size your team, okay, you have to be more than one person. So if you're just one person, you at least need to have two people. So other than that, I don't care what size your team is. If you're not having one-on-one operations, you are slowing your growth. You are allowing a lack of clarity to be evident in your company. You don't even realize it, but you are. And so that's one simple system and habit that I've made to create smoother operations and much better outcomes. All right, next, how do you keep the business financially healthy during tough times? Well, great question. Finance is one of my favorite parts. And so I think it starts with one word, one important, powerful, life changing word. And that word is contentment. The Bible says it this way: be content with such things as you have. Because your God, Father in heaven, knows what you have need of, and He'll give it to you when you need it. But be content with what you got. And if you allow your finances to be ruled by contentment, instead of fear, instead of emotions, instead of some kind of exhilarating thinking. You have a plan. You live out the plan. You do the plan. In the good times, you do the plan. In the bad times, you do the plan. And you're able to scale back when required because it's going to be required. You're going to have good years. You're going to have bad years. I've had vast swings in my income as a family, a small business owner, some freaking unbelievable, incredible, profitable years. And some years, it just sucked. Like COVID, before, leading up to COVID. Oh my gosh. After COVID was kind of cool. Anyways, so that's how you do it. So you live content. And now I'm going to do some other videos on this subject because this is a really big one. But I will say this: some of the best things that you can do to keep the business and the family healthy during tough times is have no debt. If you have no debt and you have zero payments to anyone for anything ever, you can save so much freaking money and you can invest like you would never believe. You can also go to a really cool trip like Turkey with your whole family. And it's very expensive, but you can do it because you have zero debt. People who start companies with debt exponentially increase their rate or risk of failure. If you want to exponentially increase your risk of failure, use debt, go for it. But if not, follow this channel and I'll teach you how to operate a multi-million-dollar family company with zero debt anywhere in any of our area of our lives. And it starts with the word contentment. And so this is a really big subject. So I can't answer the whole thing here, but I will say number one, content. Number two, zero debt. You do those things, you eliminate all debt from your life, you will create a much more safe future for your entire family and your company. All right, next question. How do you train and motivate non-family employees to buy into the vision? Well, first thing is you hire motivated people. Don't hire people who are not motivated. If you hire people who are not motivated, who will not buy in, who don't have the personality characteristics required to be able to buy into your vision, they will never buy in. And you're wasting your breath and your energy and your emotions and all of your intellect trying to convert them to your vision. Just don't. Don't hire unmotivated people who will not appreciate the vision that you have for the organization. Don't do it. Um, Ultimately, your vision should definitely be far greater than just for your family. It's not simply about you and yours. This is about impact that we're making over a lifetime, over generations, over the impact that we're having for many, many years to come. So you can't, if you have a vision for your company and it's only for the growth of your family and the benefit of it or the betterment of it or the grandeur of it, then something's a little bit, it's a little too small. You're going to have a vision that exceeds that, because a vision for the organization ultimately has to serve others. It has to serve a population. It has to serve people in your community. It has to serve someone else outside of your family in order to be a great and correct vision for you and your family. So I think that is one of the biggest ways and one of the biggest and most important things, hiring motivated people, who actually, when you're in the hiring process, you talk about the vision of the organization and what it is that you're doing and why you do it. And do they light up when they hear about that stuff and how they get to play a role in that? If they do, then they might be good hiring material. If not, no, don't hire them. Just because they have skills and they can do work doesn't mean they're going to do it great in your organization. And if they can't buy into the vision, then because they won't, because they just believe you're evil, or that all capitalists are capitalist pigs, or whatever ideology it is. Um, then they'll just drag you down with them. Sometimes it's hard for people to really, I think it's hard for people who have a hard time trusting people to work in in companies with vision, because many people, they just feel like somebody's out to get them. They're only making the vision because a company has to have a vision or it will fail. When that, while that is true, that a company must have a vision, otherwise it will fail. Um, it's not simply because they want to make a profit. It's because they've driven to clarity on what the heck their purpose is for this part of their life. Like, what is the purpose of of this thing in their life? And many incredible small families have those visions, and they've made them very clear. And sometimes people get the idea that, well, they just made a visions because they have to make a vision to make their company profitable. No, they made a vision because they wanted to become very, very clear about why they exist, which is incredibly rare. And when you find a company like that, it's unbelievably valuable, and it has incredible intrinsic worth. So um, I think that starts the process of helping you to train and draw people into the vision, because you're actually genuine with the vision. It includes a greater impact on the world around you. You're actually influencing and impacting others, and then it will do. And then hiring actually motivated people, they will cause you that process to be much, much easier, because vision, mission, all of that is a continuous process. It never ends in every single meeting, in every single interaction that you have with your team members. It's always there, and you're always cultivating it. And so it's not something that you just implement and it's done. It's a continual thing. And if somebody in your organization doesn't buy into that, well, you're going to know. It's going to show up in performance, it's going to show up in behavior, it's going to show up in unwillingness to drive to great decisions, it's going to show up in, I don't really care about the results because I just need her to do my job. It's going to show up, and when it shows up, you're going to have to deal with it. So yeah, so that's what I would say about that question. All right, how do you plan for succession or leadership transition? Well, I'm not at this stage of my business yet, so I can't speak as to exactly how I'm going to do it, but I have an idea. Um, as I grow our company, But for succession or for leadership transition for us, the principle of one to one typically fails miserably. So one passing it to many typically is one of the only very successful models that I've seen in the marketplace, and so that's going to be what I'm going to work on doing. Whether that's people in our company that we're going to be transitioning to once I become less relevant or less effective as a leader for our organization, or maybe some of my children will take some of those roles as they grow and actually demonstrate their performance and their ability to perform at incredibly high levels over a really long period of time. That could be a way we deal with that. But so I'm not considering just one. There will always be one owner, but once the leadership transitions, it will go to an owner and the advisors that work with him to or her to drive the company and the organization forward and continue the impact and the vision. So that's my plan for succession or leadership transition. All right, what's the best advice you ever received about running a family business? The best advice that I've ever received about running a family business, it really helped me when I learned about the swings in uh, feeling and how it feels. Because I guess I felt guilty sometimes prior to learning those massive swings in business in your business or in how you feel about what's going on is is a reality that's going to happen. And I guess I felt guilty that it was happening to me, and I didn't know what to do with that. And when I heard from other great, incredible leaders that that happens in their organization, and they work through and deal with that in prayer and in other ways of faith, um, that really helped me because I understood that you know feelings will go up and down, but the mission and vision stays the same, and every other business owner deals with it, and so I wasn't alone. And so that's kind of the best advice that I got um, as a growing business person in this area of running my company of my family business. All right, how do we personally stay motivated through hard seasons? God, that's how I personally stay motivated. The mission I have is far, far greater than the money that we make. So if it's a profitable season and we're doing incredibly well, then that's that's wonderful, and the mission is the same. If it's a tough period and you're just making ends meet, then the mission is the same. Do we get to continue doing the mission of our company? The answer is yes. In good times and bad times, we still are able to do the mission of the company. Okay, that's how we get through. So that's enough. And so I think that's a very important to realize that how much of a role your mission and your vision plays in those tough seasons. And I don't think you can exist in any 5 year period of time in your organization. You shouldn't without a very clear, powerful vision for your existence, because it's going to be what gets you through the hard seasons of your business. So that's how I personally stay motivated. I know what the mission and vision of our organization is, and if things are good, that's a reality. If things are bad, still a reality. We still get to do that. So we keep going. All right. What do you hope your family business will look like 20 years from now? Okay, that's kind of a fun question, but I hope my family business 20 years from now. I hope all of my children, I mean, I know it's not a reality that's like perfectly 100% likely. But I would love to be able to have a company where all of my children who wanted to had an opportunity to work in our company, and they were working with us. And then so if I'm 38 now, 58, and I'll probably not be retired yet from this. I'm never going to retire. I'm just going to continue working because I love work, because of why I work. But um, I think in 20 years from now, I would like to have a really uh, 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 a a team that's way, way bigger than our current team. Um, I would like to have my children being able to fill in key roles in the company where they have talents and skills and desire to do so, if that's what they want. and and I mean, yeah, and continuing to be able to do what the vision of our company is. I didn't think about adding what the vision of our company is in this session, but maybe I should have. Um, as I worked on as as we are putting this content together. So yeah, so I would like bigger, better, faster, more genuine relationships with my family, with my team, with my children, in the operations, and kind of helping them see more. My oldest son right now, he's 15, so can't really, he's not really working with us that much at this stage. He's doing a little bit here and there, but not anything super serious. But um, so yeah, I'd like to see a lot more of that involvement, and a bigger and more impactful, our ability to continue doing the mission that we have, just broader and more impactful than we're able to do it today. So I think that's what I'd like to see our company to look like 20 years from now. How do you define success in a family-owned business? Well, that's a beautiful question because I heard the answer to this question, and I think I mentioned it in my last mastermind. But John Maxwell, the incredible leadership coach and teacher, he says you have to be very careful when you're running your family business that if you run your family business but you miss this, you will miss the mark completely. And he says, so define success very clearly and very succinctly. And that he said, I define success, John Maxwell, by um, by this: the people who know me the best, love and respect me the most. And I think this is a very profound statement because so many times we can get wrapped up in everything that we do and lose the people that are closest to us, or be unkind, harsher on the people that are closest to us, unclear, not drive to clarity, undisciplined, careless. And what I want for my success, for our family, for our business, for the reality of my life, I also want the people who know me the best to love and respect me the most. Because if I do everything else and miss that, and I feel like I missed everything. And so I think um, you need to define that for yourself. What is success for you? Is it $1 million? No, once you get it, then what? Once you've achieved that, I think I think you have to be very careful with the answer to that question. So for me, I've adopted that same mentality. The people who know me the best love and respect me the most, and it changes your entire way of operation. All right, what's one piece of advice you give to a family thinking about starting a business? Freaking go for it, man. Go for it. Don't let anybody tell you it can't be done. Don't think that it's impossible. Make sure you make some good decisions. Like, don't just jump into some kind of stupid off the wall fuzzy thing that never been tried, but go for it. Do it. Do it with intensity. If you've been wronged and you want to make something right, and you want to create that new reality for your family, for your a legacy, and you think it maybe it could be done if you just line things up and did it, you can do it. You can do it, and you should do it. You should go for it. Go for it, and go for it now. There's never going to be a better time than the present to go for it. You're only going to be older. It's only going to take not longer. Now, if you're really young and you're just starting out and you've just been married for like 3 days and you're like, man, maybe we should start a family business. Just maybe get a little bit more time, let your relationship mature a little bit more, and then let's drive into it. But heck, if you are thinking about starting a family business, freaking go for it. You will not learn how to operate a family business other than this masterclass. And okay, I'm not that conceited to think that I'm the only one who can do a masterclass on operating a family business, but um, you will not be able to be better prepared for operating a family business as to when you are actually operating a family business. So freaking go for it and do it with all your heart, soul, and mind. Become very clear upon the vision is and what the impact is that you're driving for in this life, and be very clear about your reason for doing it. But go for it, do it, and charge forwards, and don't let anybody tell you that it can't be done, because it can be done. It can be done in this economy. It can be done in this lifetime, and you can do it. So I would encourage you to go for it. All right, guys. I thank you so much for spending this hour with me. It's been an incredible hour working through these questions. Some of them I wasn't thinking of, that I didn't even realize that we would answer, that they would be asked during this session. But it's been a really, really, I guess, even meaningful to me just to kind of reminisce and think back through some of those questions and some of the situations in our life and in our business that created those answers. So I really hope that was valuable for you. And if it was, would you please like and subscribe to this video and copy that link and share it with a friend? Because if there's anything, I love small family scaling their business, making their dreams come true. And if there's anything that I can do to help them do that, I want to do that. And so that's even one of the drivers behind this video series, is being able to inspire and provide hope for small business people. That's part of the mission and the vision for our company, and that's why we do this series. And so I hope, if that's happened for you, if that's been a help to you, that you would please just like and subscribe and share it with somebody else out there who needs that help, who needs that guidance, and who just needs to hear it from somebody who's actually doing this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And so thank you very much for spending this time with me. I look forward to spending time with you next week. I believe the masterclass is going to be on start. Like, actually, basically the final question in this series today, it's talking about what is the best piece of advice. Freaking start the company. So we're going to be talking about that next week, on how to build a multi-million-dollar family company, which is what I do each and every day, and what I've done for the past 16 years. Okay, if counting before we created the company. So 11 years as the current company name, and 16 years altogether, because we actually started it when my wife and I just got married. And so somebody's actually in the trenches with you, doing the work, having those experiences. So I just thank you again for spending your time with me today. It's my honor to be able to kind of provide these answers to you. And I hope that something from these answers inspired you or helped you in some very special way. If it did, please share it. And I will see you next week at 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. And we're going to be talking about start the company.